clock on my computer here, so we will call this working session to order. Our first order of business tonight is the mobile home park.
Okay, I guess I can start that off. Initially, I guess we had somebody from the industrial park express interest in purchasing a mobile home park. The first thing that he did say, he didn't want 100% of it. You know, he said maybe half. So that, I guess, would be one of our blocks that we would need to overcome. After that, you know, we did talk to the owner of the existing trailer park, and he is definitely willing to do something. He said if we relocate or he wants to improve it, you know, there's a new owner there. It's one of the first things he did note that if it does happen to relocate, he does want city or municipal streets. He doesn't want everything private in there. So we did have Chuck, you know, we did look at the grant that is out there. It's from the Minnesota Manufactured Home Park or Redevelopment Program. Chuck, maybe you can elaborate a little more on what you all found out.
Yeah, in your packet is a memo. This is sort of a new program slated to help manufactured home park redevelopment. It does help fund, it will help fund a relocation. Some of the eligible expenses would include land acquisition as well as infrastructure costs. So that is a potential. Obviously, there's several steps that we would need to go through to make this happen. I think first and foremost would be to work with the existing owner of the park, and if he's willing to work jointly with us. You know, I think the first logical step would be to have a meeting with actually the funding agency just to get everybody on the same page. That usually helps in these type of situations. And then also, if things continue to move forward, we'd probably bring on a relocation expert just to make sure that's being handled, you know, absolutely the way it's supposed to be. There's some laws I know that govern some of the relocation in those situations. So, but yeah, basically this program, it's out, there's open grants available right now. Based on our discussions with the program administrator, they thought we should be further along at this point in time to actually pursue the grant. So they felt next year would be a good target to get everything lined up over this next year. And then if it works out, pursue a grant next year at this time. So.
And then we gotta figure out somewhere really early in the beginning a location, correct?
Yeah, that would be one of the steps, would be determining that location, identifying costs for the infrastructure for the land.
So what would the city's involvement in this really look like?
Probably working with the owner of the existing park and trying to, you know, help them with the relocation process, and going after the grants probably to help with some of the costs, especially the infrastructure related costs.
And then it seems like with that business owner, the implication would be that the city would also be involved in the purchase of the old park, which would be part of, I assume, that new owner's funding to do his part of this in addition to the grant. I mean, that owner would have some dollars, so he wants to get some money out of his existing land.
Sure, I'm assuming that would have to be part of the conversation is how that occurs.
So I think that initially when this was brought up, there was some mention of the land out kind of near the airport. Would that look like the city working with the current owner on the sale of that and then selling that property out there to the current owner for the redevelopment?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if that would be the ideal property or where exactly it would be, but somewhere, I mean, it's good somewhere, that's a possibility.
Right, I think we identified like 3 different sites, you know, and that being one of them. But I think the first thing is we're going to need to go sit down with one of the administrators of this grant program to find out exactly what we should be doing, and, you know, do we have it? Is there, I don't know, Bolton and Mink has got to go look elsewhere for somebody who's gone through this process before, because there's a lot of cogs to this wheel here. So
Yeah,
But I think it'd
from
be
the
a-
relocation perspective, yeah, we'd bring in somebody that's sort of an expert in that area to do that. Yeah, obviously, if getting the existing owner on board, or at least making sure that he's interested in getting a little further with the program administrator with this agency to make sure we're moving in the right direction, I think would be the logical next step.
And the first few steps aren't gonna cost us anything anyway.
No.
It's just meetings.
Yeah.
Because if you do this wrong, didn't Wilmer do it wrong?
I don't know the situation.
You remember that, Bill? Did Wilmer really get in a big bind up there?
Well, there was a big issue with the closing of the manufactured home park in Wilmer. I don't know what the city's involvement was, if any, but I know there was a lot of controversy over and litigation surrounding the closing of that manufactured home park. But I don't really honestly recall if the city was even involved in that or if it was a private one.
I just know it made the news quite a bit.
Yep, there was a lot.
Which isn't good.
No, yeah, we got enough damage, we don't need more.
I can see it being a struggle, because I believe half of them homes you probably can't move.
The conversation that I had with the current owner, he said our biggest hurdle is gonna be exactly that, because he said most of those residents there likely will not be able to afford a new home, and we sure are not gonna move these units to a new.
So you're gonna have some kind of covenants there where you can't move anything under, over 10 years old or something to start off with.
Yeah.
You're gonna have to do something like that.
I would agree.
And half those homes over there, they're gonna pull in half anyway.
Right. Yeah, you'd never move.
No,
I think they're blocked up already.
But that's why you need a relocation expert to know exactly what your obligation is to those people and to try to do the best you can to help them to get them into something.
Right.
I mean, you really, I think your goal in this has to be to try to figure out a way to get those, to get the people that are living in what's obviously some pretty bad and substandard housing into something that's livable. I don't know if you can accomplish it or not. I don't know how much the grant can help with that, but that's, I think we need to learn those things.
Do you know, was there ever any resolution to the issue with the titles on the,
I'd be shocked if there was.
No, there wasn't.
There's still people coming in, pulling building permits, and ultimately, they think they own the trailer and they don't, and, we end up getting the park manager's approval because the trailer is on the land. But I think fearfully, Linda and I both can say that, I would say 90% of those trailers are not owned by the people that live in them.
Nor by the person who owns the park now.
And nor by the previous, or the previous to that, or the previous to that.
And previous.
And a number of the homes, like you've already indicated, will never make a move out the road onto Main Street.
Nor did they have been plates to be able to pull them in to be able to find it in Lars.
wow,
well, I'm just afraid someday it's gonna be city expense to destroy them. Or get rid of them, whatever.
Well, there's gonna be some city expense, and there actually should be.
He did clean up the one, just recently, that one that was, burnt has been cleaned up and, church has been somewhat restored, so, small steps.
Well, I guess if you want to direct us to, we could set up that first meeting with the agency and go from there.
I think that's a good step. I'd certainly be willing to sit with you guys and start coming up with the plan.
is this new ownership from the people that we were dealing with when we were trying to put the pond in out there?
No,
So it's the same owners as back then?
no, this is a different one.
Oh, these are different, okay.
Just
It's only
closed
had
on it,
for
like-
3 or 4 months, I believe, maybe 6.
And it is, does this person also own the old Willie Shields?
I think so.
Don't know.
At one point it was connected.
I'm not 100%
So I see they are making improvements over
I
there.
think so.
If there's a new owner within the last 3 to 6 months, it's a different owner.
So it's,
I mean, unless the guy who bought this also bought that.
because it was all together at one point.
Correct.
And they are, looks like they're doing some building improvements over there.
They do have a building permit, yes. They are working on the former H&R Block separate building, they have a building permit for that. So yes, they are improving that property also.
So when that changed hands, did that one as well?
Don't know.
Just thinking maybe the same guy's got it all.
The owner of the park now, who that is.
Brent, I believe it's his name.
I got his phone number. The old Black Saucer is owned by Painesville Properties LLC. Whoever that might be.
Do you have an address for it?
Big Lake. And I think the guy with the mobile home park is out of California.
He's from
He is.
California.
Oh,
Yeah, it's two totally different people.
okay.
Yeah, 'cause the mobile home is Mini Street Park out of Arizona. Is at least where the LLC is registered.
I think he actually lives in California, close to California. A while ago. And I believe the apartments also just changed hands recently, but I honestly don't remember if it's connected.
Which ones?
The old Willie Shields.
Okay.
Yeah, because those were owned, both of those used to be owned by a guy out of North Dakota.
Yep. Yeah, he's the one that sold all the trailers that didn't do so legally.
All right, so we're gonna inquire some more about that.
Well,
All right, sounds good. The next one, COVID relief funds.
So the top sheet on this is the September filing of monies. We spent $18,769 in September. That includes the $83.34 earmarked for the county. That was lowered due to the amount of businesses that applied, and the county said they would cover their share first. That actually it'll get paid this next time, so that'll actually be on our October reporting, but I want to include it because we have the exact dollar amount. I also included kind of the items, I don't think I included this last time, some items that we could stockpile on. That was one thing they recommended that we do with our funds, so I did just put a figure in there for that. Future payroll, I did also include that. That does not include if we do all of public safety salary. I included that wish list that we had at the last council meeting. And the email from Stephanie asking her for the payroll history. This is Police Department and Fire Department salaries from March 1st to present, and that was as of the end of September. If we wanted to put the remainder of our monies, which is approximately $80,000, if we wanted to just use it for the portion of salaries that we could pay down, then our monies would be gone. That would be one way to benefit all the residents and the businesses of Painesville, because it would come off of our, potentially help cover those actuals this year, which would give us more money in our reserves to help us with our budget for 2021. So just food for thought.
Well, I think that would be a good way to impact the budget for 2021, which is one of the things on here for us to discuss.
If you, you got 38,769. If we go with that, there's only like 40 left, right? Or,
Nope.
no? Okay.
Nope, the spent or earmarked money, that $110,000 includes the
38?
It includes the March through August actuals that I did file already.
Right.
The September actuals that were filed, and the earmarked money of the county money, the stockpiling, and the payroll.
The 110 includes
Yes.
the 38, okay.
Correct.
Oh, yeah, and I didn't read part of those.
You said it
September
includes
actuals,
the
there you go.
payroll? You said it includes the payroll?
The future overtime or payroll, what we've been doing at this point is all the overtime.
Okay.
That motor vehicle is accumulating, we're putting into COVID because because of COVID, all these offices are closed. All of the extra additional hours based on average at the liquor store because of their being busy due to COVID. That type of stuff we've been
Yeah.
able to put in the COVID monies, it's something that we can account for. So that's where I took, I had 20,000 last month, that was kind of an average of what I thought for the months left. And we spent 9,500 in September on salaries that I claim that's also people that are gone due to COVID-related illnesses or family members that have been exposed. That 9,500 then I took, we have October and half of November left, so I figured 10,000 a month. Let's break them up with 15. I'm trying to update those each month. For my accurate figure.
So we got 79,000 that we actually use on public safety payroll.
Potentially,
Right.
October, we're just on the 5th, so we haven't, I haven't had any supplies. I'm sure we bought wipes or something, or will be in October that would also be eligible, but once somebody's gone, it's gone. So if you decide to put it toward public safety payroll and use all of it, then we're done accounting for it. It's reported, it's done, it's fine.
Well, that might be our simplest. Over and done. Because this wish list on page 5, that can continue. And hopefully be budgeted for down the road, correct?
Absolutely.
I mean, there's nothing on here that's a must-have, is there?
I think there are two things. One is on there, which is half the cost of the body camera system, which we've been discussing anyway. And then up on the top, it talks about new video panels and TVs for council chambers. I don't know that that's important, but what I do think we might want to look into is getting better cameras in here so that we can improve the quality of the live streaming. Right now, I don't know that they're even low def. It looks like some 1980s security camera, if I look at it online sometimes. So if we can use COVID money for that to improve public access to our meetings, better video access for us if anyone's on the road or if we have to quarantine again, I think that would be worth looking into with these monies.
My 2 cents on early on, I tried to attend some meetings virtually, and it wasn't so much the video issue, but the sound quality was so bad. It was like, you might as well not even bother. I mean, I could hear probably 30% of what was going on here. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's people not speaking into the microphones or what it was, but I mean, it wasn't, at that time, nobody was wearing masks, so it wasn't a mask issue. It was something with the sound system, but it was not workable. I could have lived without seeing, but I couldn't hear.
Yeah, to me, it was like, forget it. You couldn't hear nothing and then figure out. Yeah, so anything we can do to upgrade so we can do virtual?
Yeah, I hope we never need to do virtual again, but that was just my observation of it. That was the part of the whole player with the sound.
Yeah, it's really, unless people are speaking directly into the microphones, it was really hard to hear.
We can tell you now.
Yeah, that's fine, yeah.
What we were just talking about, we don't even have one. So that should be all COVID related for virtual.
Absolutely.
We've talked before about streaming. How far away are we from?
Well, we can do YouTube now. The only problem, and I hate to say problem, but one of the things you would run into potentially, and bear with me because I'm not real technical here, but if you do YouTube, there is the potential of advertisements popping in throughout the live streaming. If we go through where we can promote and do our own live streaming within in-house, my understanding is the desktop in the back cable room is more like, it's like a little mini server And that's one of the things I have on here that would have to be replaced to be able to do that. It's very, very old. Live streaming hardware is about $3,000. There's a $1,200 a year subscription. Let's see, new server desktop replacing what we have is $8,800 and a one-time setup fee of $1,400. These are all potential equipment in that cable room. Now, with that, we have cable money. I don't know how much we have in.
About 7,700.
Yeah, I was thinking it was around 8,000 or 9,000.
Can I ask you where you got those numbers at?
Kristen got them? I
Did,
asked her to check
did-
with their people.
Did anybody talk to the, Matt at the school and see what they utilize for all their live streaming and their equipment they're using and their subscriptions?
I think she talked to Rudy, that has done all of our equipment in the past, and then the person that put up our TVs, knew something, I don't know.
I would suggest start talking to the Matt in the school, because they're doing it, and it works. They're doing live games and everything else over there. Whatever they got works.
Because it just seems less and less people are on channel, subscribing to Mediacom and doing channel 8. It's almost a waste of money on.
Well, and if I remember, one of the reasons we switched to the new website system that we have was because it had capability of doing live stream through our new website. I know that was before, but that was like a year or two ago, I think, but that was one of the selling points of switching over.
The one thing I will say, it seems like by Tuesday, the council meeting is available to view on the website. And that's crystal clear. So, it's not like listening to it live, but within 2 days, anybody who wants to listen can.
And is the audio on there pretty good?
Real nice.
Yes, it is.
I've been impressed with,
I've been watching it for the last year and never had a problem.
it's usually by Tuesday it's on.
Yeah, Tuesday or Wednesday.
I knew that was part of the new website. I wasn't sure. I didn't know the live streaming being also a capability.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that was, at least how it was presented to us, that would be a capability through that new website.
So with that, would it pay to live stream? For somebody that wants to watch it while it's happening, I suppose.
Right, that's the whole idea is
Yeah.
that live stream.
We might only get 10 people to watch, but that would be 10 more that would show up.
Because at the end of the day, does it pay for us to have the expense of cable and channel 8?
I mean, the equipment costs something, it doesn't cost us anything to put it on Channel 8, though, does it? I mean, other than the equipment cost, there's not a fee.
I think the biggest expense would be Kristen's time, wouldn't it?
Well, we pay Rudy every year.
Right. Yep, and you have and Kristen and other staff.
That could go away,
Yeah,
probably.
yeah.
I mean, it's just something to think about. I don't think we're getting a lot of bang for our buck.
I think we're going to get an uproar though if we talk about that with removing some of the church services.
Oh, that's true. There's that.
People wouldn't miss us, but they miss our ministers.
Yeah.
Especially.
Yeah.
I don't know, I always enjoy getting messages from your wife.
That's got nothing to do with me.
She watches us live. So is that something that we want to get kind of a concrete estimate on and bring to a council meeting? So,
Yeah, I think I'd like. And then we have the body cams on here. Are they CARES fund eligible?
I believe they are.
Paul Fireman was that they would be.
A portion of them, I think they would be. Seeing we are looking at individually issued body cams, we're looking at wireless downloads, that sort of thing. I believe that when we start looking at some of those touch points that you're reducing, specifically right now when we download our camera systems, you gotta go into every single car, grab the flash drive, take it out, download it, put it back in, and run that for an entire day. The wireless download system and everything else would allow us to eliminate those touch points, so it would give us, individually issued body cams as well as the wireless download, and the cost of those are gonna run us roughly half our costs.
I'm all for it if we can, it seemed unusual that we thought we could, but if that'll
And if-
placate the
If
auditors.
the safer way is to do the payroll part and just budget and do that out of other budgetary, you get to it either way, I suppose. You've kind of committed to doing it, so
Right.
it's just where do you get the dollars from, but.
And you could look at that with either of those items if the body cams can't be handled before the deadline, or the live streaming and any equipment we need to purchase. You could potentially use the COVID money for the payroll to free up the reserve money to cover those.
Yeah.
Were we still thinking about a grant on body cams, or?
You gotta talk to those that, in St. Paul on that one. They can't agree on anything, so that was in their reform bill that never made it in there, so. Whether or not there's gonna be something down the road, no idea. It was one of those hot topic things initially, and then it just pretty much fizzled out.
Linda, when does this have to be done, spent?
Has to be spent by November 15th, or we have to give it back to the county.
Well, then in theory, we should probably do it like Bill and Linda did it and pay the payroll cost and earmark monies out of there for the live streaming and so forth, so then we're safe.
Yeah.
Payroll out of COVID and then use any reserves for the other items. I think it's a safer bet. I think it would take a little bit of researching to do the live stream, the council agenda deadline for the 12th is tomorrow at 10:30, so I don't think we can have that meeting.
Right, and then that way that they have, she has a little bit more time on finding the right stuff instead of just buying stuff and, oh, that was a bummer.
Yeah. No, I think that makes sense too.
As long as it didn't get lost in the budget.
And I suggested to Linda, but I think in a regular council meeting, when we're doing business, it would make sense once the numbers are crunched and Belinda, will come up with, I think they'll allocate equal percentage for both, and that would be a percentage of the overall salary. And I think it would be appropriate for council to, approve a motion finding that percentage of the public safety bills for those things is going to be related and authorize the city administrator to pay out of the local funds. I think that's the kind of thing that you want to document, that you're finding that much of the time spent by the police and fire is reasonably COVID related. With that one.
And even the couple of earmark dollars I have here, the stock for 5,000, I think that's probably a little bit overkill, but that meant you could decide to put that for a table, and then we have to buy alcohol wipes or hand sanitizer in the future. It's just coming out of our supplies, which is our general fund budget. Overtime payroll will be the same thing. If you take 100,000, whatever it'd be here, for payroll for police department, well then the overtime liquor store and motor vehicle is just coming out of salaries. Because the salaries we have set up a department for COVID to be able to track those expenses. And we just set that up with the reporting, so I have to go back and all supplies we bought from March 1st forward off, do journal entries to pull it from streets and admin and police and everywhere else to put it into the COVID department, so it's tracked. Ryan and I have talked, that's gonna be a little trickier with salaries. So I don't know budget-wise if it's going to be able to make sense to pull everybody's salaries that are out of all these different line items out of liquor and water and sewer and general and EDAP and pull that into this COVID monies. He's still thinking back through in his head how that would look. he's the auditor, so as long as he knows where that money is, it's not a problem either way. I know that, like liquor store obviously would like, and water and sewer would like, that may be out of their consequence in the COVID department, but that's still, we're working on that.
So is that something realistically that could come to council for our second meeting in October?
Just the salaries portion of it?
Well, because if we have to have it all spent by November 15th, I don't know, is that something that we would be ready to make a decision on?
If the council directs me to calculate out exactly what we've spent, which I can show you on the sheet exactly what we've spent, and not to worry about stockpiling, not to worry about future overtime payroll, take the remainder of it and put it towards public safety salaries. That's that will take me very little time to calculate that out, exactly what we've earmarked and spent already. So that's super easy, and that's just asking Bill to come up with a resolution with that dollar figure. And that can come to council at the second meeting in October, absolutely. And then we'd be done. I would report for October. We would have no money to do next year.
I mean, it seems to make sense just from like the money is there and that's one way that we can kind of impact the budget for our community.
Yeah, I'm good.
So this will be on our next council meeting?
Probably not on the 12th, because I doubt Bill could get a resolution by tomorrow morning. But we could, if you direct, I will take, basically it's going to amount to the 79,060.84 plus 5,000 if you want to forget the stockpiling, and 15,000 if you want to forget the overtime. I would add all that together, double check my figure against what I've reported, and contact Bill with that figure.
Or you could just go with more conservative numbers on the overtime, so you know you're gonna have it, but you do it, I mean, I don't care.
Yeah.
Whatever you think, but you wanna use it up, but I mean, I think if you can use it for the other overtime, that's, I'm not trying to use it all for this one area, but I think that's a neat way to count it up.
It would be.
Yeah.
Now, payroll, Stephanie and I did payroll today, and we had probably close to, we had 4 staff affected by COVID this pay period, probably close to 70 hours of COVID use that they had to stay home, they couldn't come to work.
Wow.
So they were paid for those hours. That would be something I would normally take off of COVID, so if you want me to, it's totally up to you how you want to do it. I mean,
I think it would make sense to use those, because there's no disagreement there. It's definitely COVID related.
I think using the COVID money to kind of, like Bill said, err on the side of caution with the overtime stuff, and then put the rest into the public works.
Public safety.
Public safety, sorry.
Those hours for the use for COVID, the person was gone.
the salaries themselves, we plan right on COVID. Because the council directed that they would get, if they're full-time employee, they'd get 80 hours.
Right, that's a mandate, yeah, by the law.
No, we're one of the few that actually pay employees that.
Is that like an ongoing thing, or is that a one-time, like if somebody's exposed again in a month and has to quarantine for 2 weeks?
State law is once for regular companies. We're mandated for 80 hours one time.
One time.
Yep. And then you can you write it off on your quarterlies.
Mm-hmm.
But cities are different than my world. That's why I was asking.
So basically, the way the council approved it back in April or whenever it was that full-time employees would have up to 80 hours of COVID-related payroll, that they would not have to take PTO toward or contact toward.
Right.
And part-timers, it'd be based on their average number of hours worked. So we calculate all that out, and then as they use it, if they were to be exposed and couldn't come to work, and it took 3 days to get a negative result on that, then I took 3 days of COVID, so that's 24 hours, so subtract that from the 80, and they still have this bank of hours, is how we've been handling it. We do have 2 employees that are part-time, that are out of their average hours. We have had 1 full-time employee, I believe, that's used their full 80 hours. We had 1 in office, in admin, that used about half their hours. So that's a real easy, yeah, this is technical related.
Yeah.
So I can certainly claim, but we're getting down to that wire of, okay, I can claim this pay period, but we may not want to wait and claim the next pay period.
Yep.
Because we want to get this money accounted for in October, I think, for sure.
Mhm. Yeah, I think so. Makes sense. So any other comments?
Should I mix the stockpiling
I think so.
supplies?
Oh, no, supplies?
Yeah, stockpiling supplies, I just threw a figure in there, 5,000 per, which, now in the second pay period, September, we had no COVID expenses in our accounts payable. There was nothing purchased that was COVID related. So that's starting to wind down.
Yeah, I mean, I think it wouldn't hurt to have some stockpile of this stuff, but,
And some of it we can't even get now, and we don't know if we'll be able to get between now and November.
yeah. I don't know, I kind of think get what you can with that.
Okay.
So, get what you can, what's available to stockpile up.
And I think Jody's been trying to keep up. You know, we just bought another 5,000 masks.
About 5,000 masks.
Second set of 5,000 masks.
You have them here available for people that
Here
can.
and for staff.
Yeah.
And for staff, of course.
Mhm. All right, anything else on that? All right, then the next item is the goals for the liquor store.
Yes, we've, my liquor board met, ago, and they're looking for direction as to what the council's looking for the future of our liquor store. Steel Turkey's knocked on our door, we've talked to Roger Teal. They're just looking where we should go, what you would like them to do to start with, to go through. And that's what we brought back to council for that. We know space is an issue. Roger offered us a 3-year lease at the same price. There could possibly be some more room there someday. Steel Turkey would like us to rent there, but there's not any cost offered. I think we have to pay to get quite a bit done. And our board went through this once with Jax, and we met quite a bit. We would not like to go through that again. So they're just looking for some direction as you directed them to start digging into some things. So we have a meeting tomorrow night. The future looks bright. So sales are good, but we know that's a lot of it's COVID related. But times are changing in the liquor business. So we're just looking to see what you think we should go to or where we should go for our next step.
How soon can we get an answer from Roger for more space? Because if that's workable, that's a very easy solution compared to going over to Steel Turkey and still be renting.
Correct. And we still, and the rent will go up according, when I talk to Roger.
Right, more space is gonna be more rent.
Yet to be determined. But I don't know where that space would come right now either,
Well.
so.
when's the, contract up with T-Dog?
April 1st, Len.
You're not gonna have any choice what to do with another 3 year, because nothing's gonna happen for April.
Right.
I mean, you can't move right now.
No.
And I think too, you gotta do the 3-year thing, and if we have to buy our way out of it or whatever, so be it.
So, I think there's a negotiating team, am I correct with, that could help negotiate the lease with Roger. I think it'd be great to sit down and talk to him with a negotiating.
Who's on that team?
Me and Len, or me and Neil.
I am?
No,
No.
it's me and Neil.
Neil.
Oh, yeah. Wait a minute.
I misspoke.
Yeah,
I'm used to being on everything with you.
You know, and I asked him what it would cost to get out of the lease, and I never got an answer. We kind of went around that in the back.
well, this is something we should have on paper also.
I agree.
It should definitely be included in the lease if we're thinking that during the term we might want to get out of it. I mean, that should be negotiated because we don't want to be looking at 12 months from now, looking at paying 24 months of rent to get out of it.
Right.
That would be bad.
That would be bad.
And you know, going in the proper way to plan, if we do something bigger, it's going to take time to do that anyway. Time to research, and right now, I don't know if I want to build, because building costs are ridiculous. So, but who knows in a year if that will come down.
Yeah, the team talks to Roger and says, we want to negotiate so we can get out of it early or something. At least we can let him know that we will try our hardest to find somebody to fill that space.
And that's all he asked. He said, I just want to get caught empty-handed.
Well, I think we need to give them like 12 months notice or something. I mean, we don't want to just give 30 days notice. That would be ridiculous. But I think anything that we would do, we would know, maybe not 12 months, but we'd know. I mean, it's not going to be.
But it'd be good to have that in writing.
Absolutely.
And the remodel's gonna take 12 months.
So,
Must give a 12-month notice or pay for, you know.
And he's a great guy to talk to. You know, he's a super guy to work with.
Yeah, I think you should get somebody set up in the location and can talk to him, because right now you don't have a choice but to stay where you're at.
Right.
You
And
know,
then,
anything can happen in that short of time frame.
and then when we start looking toward the future, or do you want us to hold right now? Do you want us, you know, I added up the new items that we put in since this year is 296. Half of them are beer. Budweiser told me their portfolio is going to be doubled the next year and a half. That's what we're running into, and we all know that. We've been blessed with a good business, we've been blessed with good sales. It's not going to change right away. People are flocking back. We're starting to see that in our industry. It will take time for that to return back to the bars to where people are going back. Do we go that far, or do you want us just to start with this and then go from there?
Where are things at with the, like, allowing, like, supermarkets and gas stations liquor sales?
They really messed up this year. They did a lot. They have quite an agenda, and it took quite a few of the legislators wrong. I think, Sean, you talked about, and the breweries did the same thing. So we're sitting in pretty good shape as of right now. But that could change after the election as well.
Mm-hmm.
But that's been ongoing since the 60s. We've been fighting this fight. I think a lot of it has to do with our sales, where we're at, business, you know. It'd be great for people to go out with me when we talk to the, you know, to our capital, talk to our legislatures, so they know. And I think you all have, you know, visited with our legislatures, they talk about that. So we don't see anything in the near future, but that's only as good as the next election. You know, so, but they didn't get very far and the wrong way this year. So, you know, I don't need to get brought up next year just because of everything else in the world going on. So, because a lot of that stuff never even hit the floor this year. So,
Okay.
Do you know if it ever got heard in committee?
I'm sorry.
Do you know if they ever heard it in committee?
I don't think, you know, I don't think it got very far at all.
So that it very unlikely the next session then.
You know, there are lobbyists that are hitting the streets hard just like we were. But, you know, we're fighting small town America, you know, we're small town America, that's what's helping us.
I think we absolutely have to keep planning for what you do in 3 years at the very latest. One of the reasons we didn't go into this Teals deal or the Shopko deal right away is just because it was rushed. We didn't know what the money was going to look like, but now we can do it right.
Sean, I agree, and that's why I'd like for us and Bill to visit with Roger.
Yep, agreed.
And maybe in 3 years, he'll have more space.
Yep.
And that would answer our problem. And I think be the easiest and most efficient down the road.
Would it also be beneficial for the property negotiations to, maybe it's not, would it be beneficial to sit down with Steel Turkey representatives again, just to talk through what a lease with them may look like?
I know it was a long-term lease. I know they wanted a long-term lease, if we would do something with that,
Didn't they want 10 years?
10 years. That was, but that's all, that wasn't negotiated, that was all.
But our expense to go there compared to staying at Teals would be,
You know, we went to Teals for around 60,000.
But the thing with Teals is that it's it's kind of a big if, whether or not there will be space available to expand.
well,
And he wants that business.
there may or may not
You
be.
know,
I mean, one thing we might learn in talking to Roger is maybe he doesn't have it now, it might not be in 3 years, but he might have something in 12 months. We don't know what the lease agreements look like with those other businesses. So, no, I agree, Neil, we should sit down with him and look at it. I think we start it there and then talk to Steel Turkey again if we think we need to.
I think the thing with Steel Turkey is they want, I mean, you know, wanting you to commit to a long-term lease is great if they were going to do some of the expense of the remodel, but what's the motivation for you to do a long-term lease? I mean, well, to protect yourself, you might want to do a long-term lease if you're sticking that kind of money into it, but it's like, I don't know what, how they're looking at that. They're thinking, well, if you would commit for a long time, we might help a little bit, or I don't know their view of all that is. And the only way to know would be to talk to him, but you should talk to Roger first, and find out. If he really thought he was going to have space in 12 months or 24 months, that's a lot easier. But if he, as I suspect, has no idea when there might be more space available, then maybe you have to think about something.
I can surely call Roger and get that.
But you said you built another building for 60 or 60 something.
We moved down, and that was the cooler we have, which, you know, was an antique guy. Right. That's our biggest expense when we would have to come in anywhere, so we need to upgrade that cooler. Because that's where 67% of your, or 60% of your business is.
But do you think 600,000? Do you think 400,000? I have no idea.
I don't either. It depends on what your, and building costs now and materials are ridiculous, you know, so that's the scary thing.
To remodel and make that efficient, I'm afraid it would cost some.
That's Steel Turkey.
Yeah, I don't think 500 will go real far. I mean, you're talking the entrance, doors, windows,
Well, I mean,
heating, cooling,
a cooler, you're looking at 125,000.
and we may have that expense coming up anyhow, right, or not?
Well,
We put a new motor in that one, didn't we?
3 years ago, 4 years ago.
Just wondering.
Yeah, and, you know, it'd be nice if we could salvage part of that just to keep it for something, you know, for, I'd love to get into the keg business. I hate sending that down the road all the time. You know, that's the hard, I think we can do a great keg business with our lake traffic. It's fantastic. We just don't have space for their needs to keep them on hand.
Well,
So there's a need, there's definitely, we can continue to use that old cooler. But, you know, a brand new one, you're looking at 125,000, maybe, roughly. That's your biggest expense, but that's your biggest money maker too. And that's brand new. Now, I do have an opportunity maybe to find a used box that we find doors for, like we did up at Berkeley. We did did that. So, there's those kind of things out there. It's just, when I talk to our cooling guy, until we know exactly what we need for size, they can really go very far.
Right, the climate is out there, there could be a lot of good, used coolers next year. And there are places that are closing that,
Right, is that a steel frame building? That erector set? Shopko, is that an erector set?
That's a steel frame, yes, right iron building.
And the steel stuff, everything, if I remember.
Yeah, just like the school, just an erector set.
Yeah.
I was just wondering because that makes it a little harder to put in the bigger doors. Depends how far they're apart. They're about 12 or 14 foot apart, didn't you?
Yeah, off the top of my head, I don't.
Just me.
well, for now, let's meet with Roger and see what that goes.
Yeah,
If that's okay with everybody?
I think so.
Should I just email you guys and just shoot something out and say when works for you guys, what's the best time? Then I can give Roger a call in the next week or so. We're here tomorrow, then we head for a wedding till next week. So I give Roger a call, I'll shoot you an email tomorrow when we start. How's that?
I guess your directions to the liquor board would be continue as we go in until you get to talk to Roger and the negotiation and so forth, and you can't really do anything other than proceed because you have nothing to.
No, we just carry on the business the way we're going, that's what we've been doing, and we can
What else
continue.
can you do?
Yeah, and we don't need, do we need any of my liquor board this at the negotiation, or is that just for you folks? 'Cause
The negotiation part of it, I think it should be just.
those two only, and then.
Yeah, just the four group, you
Okay.
and them two, that's what I think.
I think so too. I mean, we have to bring it back to council anyhow, if something.
Yes,
You know, I mean, we can't just say, yeah, that sounds wonderful.
correct.
We can say that, but we still can't go ahead.
Right. Yeah, he's an easy guy to get along with, he's great, so. Okay,
Okay.
yep, thank you.
All right, we're good on that one. Then we will move on to the police secretary accounting specialist position on page 8.
I guess on page 11 of our packet, we can put together our secretary, this is the staffing options. This is just for short term from now until the first of the year. I guess we would like to move Megan Clark from the liquor store down into City Hall here. And she could do a lot of the general items that we would need to take care of. Belinda did call Randy, and he would be willing to come back and do the accounts payable. And then what we do is increase the for the liquor store hours up from 32 to 40 hours out there. That would take care of Megan's hours out at the liquor store. Stearns County would conduct the police department transcriptions duties that they would need to be done. And Stephanie, she'd come back in twice a month and do the payroll along with Belinda. And then also one of the key points here, we need to really take Jennifer and Belinda off of the DMV, or the motor vehicle. There's a ton of training that they need to do. So just in summary, we would have Stephanie and Belinda doing payroll, Randy and Belinda would be doing the accounts payable. Jennifer, she would help Belinda with the extra or additional city admin duties there. Megan, she would do the filing, scanning, general office duties. Again, Jennifer and Belinda no DMV. And the police department, Stearns County, the transcripts, and the police then would do their own data entry, reports, and permits. I did run this past the mayor since he wasn't going to be here, and he felt this was an excellent idea as, you know, we obviously have the new administrator coming in, and he'd have a little bit of his feet on the ground for a while before January 1st, so. Option 2 then would be to, hire attempt to conduct some of these duties, and long term, I guess it really waits to be seen. What are the council's wishes at this point, so. Or the other option is run status quo.
I like the short-term option. I think it makes sense to bring a little bit of extra help in here to get caught up. I'm grateful that both Stephanie and Randy are willing to help out, even though they obviously have no obligation to do so. Hiring a temp doesn't make sense to me, because I feel like by the time that person would be trained and everything, we'd be at January 1 and we'd be moving on to a long-term solution anyway. So, I'm good with it. The question I still have, and Paul, I know you've explained it to me 100 times, but why in the world do we need to transcribe everything for Stearns County? It seems like just a bunch of wasted payroll, and they can find a way to do it themselves.
Agreed.
Okay.
I don't disagree with you at all, Sean.
Because we're doing it pre-charge, you said, right?
What's that?
You said we have to do it pre-charge?
Sometimes. I've got a request right now, granted it's not the transcription, but it gives you an idea of kind of where some of the thoughts are with prosecuting in this county. A very simple case of somebody who's driving on a canceled IPS driver's license. Gives his brother's full name and date of birth at the time, and they won't charge it out until they get the video and watch the video.
Okay, but why do we need to do a transcription for that?
Well, we won't have to transcribe that, I'm just saying, it gives you an idea. Something as simple as that is about as easy as it comes when it comes to charging, and even those things, it's like, well, we want this, we want this, we want this. I've gone round and around with Stearns County about the transcription services, so has pretty much every other chief in this county, to say, look, we're wasting people's time and we're wasting, time and money here to transcribe stuff that never goes to court.
It's just asinine to me. If it's going to be used at a hearing, yes, but...
So the way we have it set up right now, and the plan moving forward, as far as the transcription goes, is if there's anything that's needed, and I'm just gonna flat out tell the county attorney's office that you'll have, if you need it for charging, you'll get the audio file, but you're not getting transcription until such time as it's going to court. If there is some emergency that we need to do it, the county is going to step in. The reason they got away from doing our stuff is they don't have time. I don't believe they still have time in my conversations with their people over there, so. I did reach out to some of the other smaller agencies, and all of them have indicated that, if we had a short-term pinch where we needed assistance, they're willing to assist as well. So we do have options with some of them on that stuff, but I don't plan on sending anything over that has to be, it doesn't have to be done.
The liquor store is okay with you have a person that wants the extra, 4 hours?
Yes.
Or 8 hours, on 32 to 40?
We had cut back everybody after Labor Day. And people are still willing to work. So when we brought it up with our staff, everybody's willing to go back to working more hours. And she's willing to come down. She was wanting some more day shifts, so this would give her some more daytimes, so she could be home nights with her kids. So I did get a resignation day of a staff member, but it was for just a weekend only. So I think we can absorb that with the extra hours that we would be getting and not hire. I don't want to hire them. So I like to just keep my staff.
And what it would do, is where we were kind of looking at the paper is if Megan could come down to City Hall for approximately 17 to 20 hours a week, work the rest of her time at the liquor store, so she's kind of split between the two. And then the potential 15, 20 hours a week that she's giving us, the liquor store is losing her on. He has 3 other employees that are up to 32-hour-week employees, giving them the opportunity to go up to 40 to make up that time in his store.
She's at 40.
32.
32.
So at 40, do we have to offer benefits? or-
Not if it's a short term, it'd be
Short term.
just like we did through COVID. It'd be kind of that same scenario. We would have to have an MOU, I'm sure. with
If
you.
this turns long-term, then we would.
Then we'd have to go to a plan B at the liquor store. So, but for short term,
Well, I'm just thinking if option one works, maybe it could turn,
well, and that's a chance
we'd have to look at it and go from there.
Yeah.
It's a good, let's go with it to get us through this anyhow.
What, says on here that Randy goes south for the winter. When does he leave?
He does, he leaves January 1st. I talked to him via the phone, I told him I did not talk to the council yet, but I want to get his permission and put this out to you guys. Couple things that, I wasn't a part of that whole deal when he left. So I don't know all the details, but he did, when he talked to me, he said, I don't know if I can come back because the separation agreement says I'm not allowed to ever apply for a job in the city. But when I look at that, I think, Bill, you and I talked about a little bit that, potentially that could, he's not applying. We're asking him to come back. In his case, he would be more than willing, he's just one of those people that gives and gives and gives, so he's more than willing to come help us out. I did tell him, talk to his wife and make sure she, they were okay with it. I didn't want to put him on the spot. But he would be able to help, he believes, through December 31st. The only thing he would probably be brought into is to help me with accounts payable, just the magnitude of getting that done. He kind of, he knows a little bit about code, he knows a little bit about our vendors, he's done their credit cuts, our coding, our chart accounts. He's seen all that. That gives him a little bit of a.
Was he doing accounts payable?
He was doing part of it. He was doing part of it, Renee was still doing part of it.
And that would be his only, he'd be in an office, not dealing with people.
I would imagine he'd be back here by Brent.
He wouldn't be dealing with people, answering the phone.
Would it be DMV or anything of that?
No.
Okay.
No, because he had to have background check at this point now, what it is. And that's something, an update we did get today, that liaison I said that was here today. We did ask her, there's all this training right now for people that's going live in November. They're not backing off on any of that. And we said, kind of under extenuating circumstances, Melinda reached out to the state and said, well, we would just have sent a letter asking if Jen and I can hold off on our training temporarily because of the extenuating circumstances, because we're talking 50 plus hours of training. And she said today, you can hold off and do it later, but you will not be able to work in the dry till it's all completed.
I'm sure you're really sad about that, huh?
So, so we can't do anything, right? It's not done.
Now, the other, have taken the training or will they?
They're trying. The problem we're running into, what's happening is all these offices that are closed or appointment only and not answering their phones, and I talked to her about that today a little bit. You've got all your DMVs around us that simply are not answering their phones. You call their phone and they have a report that says, we're too busy, we're not answering our phones. Click. Can't leave a message, you can't do anything. So they are calling every DMV until they get somebody. Jennifer had a call Friday, I believe it was. She was on the phone for 12 minutes and 9 seconds with a lady who at the end of that conversation said, oh, perfect, other than talk center, I couldn't get a hold of it, so I'm going to just go down and get it done. So we just lost no time. We got no time. We did that. And she spent 12 minutes of her time on the phone with this person. That's an every hour occurrence. So the ones that are just for each employee that they're taking 10, 15 appointments a day, they have time to train. They're not taking the magnitude of people. They aren't answering the phones. So the girls are doing a lot of that early mornings.
And her solution to our problem with just the load of people coming was, well, their state is issuing variances, so take them up on it. Close earlier, only be open 4 days, take it home and get overtime, whatever you need to do.
Come in nights and weekends or check out the public.
Or if you can only be open Monday through Thursday, or if you have to close every day at noon, just do it, because this is going to hit the floor on November 16th, and if you're not ready, it's going to be your fault. That's what she said.
Because my comment to her was, when are you gonna make everybody open up?
Yeah.
You know, Wilbur is sending people to us, and they're telling them, everybody works until 4:30. But we have no phone number to call and say, hey, we're locking our doors at 4.
I sent them a page letter today and posters to hang at their facility. That says, please tell those people that if they're coming here, they have to be here by 4.
Why is Wilbur not open?
They're
Because they have a
testing.
choice to, you have a choice now. If you don't want to deal with the public and you don't want to be overloaded, you have a choice of not serving them. Due to COVID, it's a higher risk, it's more exposure. We are getting people from the cities, Marshall, Owatonna.
That don't seem fair.
That's exactly what Belinda said today. She was it's fair. We are serving in our exposure, and I talked to the ladies in my video last week also, and she goes, their exposure is increased also. They are open, but they only allow 2 people in the office at a time. They're down 1 clerk, and they only take appointments for prorates and something else. But they only serve a number of people a day. Litchfield, you can go there, but they only allow 3 people in. They did not answer their phone, they just quit answering their phone entirely. So we have no way of getting.
St. Paul does not answer the phone, Wilmer does not answer the phone, nor do they do driver's license applications. Brainerd, which is a private, so they don't have government funding back in that. They are closed appointment only, is my understanding.
Sock Center was open on Saturdays, we just learned this too. They were so inundated with people from the cities, they weren't even helping their own community residents anymore. They were just so frustrated they just threw up their hands. Because everybody was coming from the cities on Saturday to go to Sock Center.
The privately owned, why would you not want to do as much business as possible?
Yeah, that shocked me.
So Litchfield is
If I owned
private.
a business, I'd want to be open 24/7, but
Yeah, Litchfield is
That's
also
just me.
private, as is Albany. Albany does not do driver's license.
So, at this point with, needing to get this training done, do we need to realistically look at adjusting our hours again? Like opening a little bit later in the morning? Or, not unlocking the doors till 9:30, I don't know.
I don't know, we had one gentleman come today, at 4:10, was very unhappy with our new hours, and we will be back to normal. And I politely said, I don't know when normal will be back.
what is normal?
I said, right now, this is normal. I said, otherwise, we don't close at 4. We are still serving people at 5:30, and that's not even cleaning up. The line still exists at 5:30.
Right.
I don't know, because ultimately, we're gonna end up losing revenue. Ultimately, we could just upset more people.
And try to squeeze it into a tighter time frame.
Well, we're gonna lose a heck of a lot more revenue if we can't do anything on November 12th.
Right.
You're correct.
So,
Yeah, we gotta get at least one done,
right.
right?
The 3 girls are doing fairly well with their training, I believe.
I mean, if it's shut the door or keep it open, we're gonna have to pay them some overtime and have them do it on a
And
weekend
they are.
and get done. Saturday and Sunday, you could wrap up 20 hours if you really needed to. Kind
Yeah, that is an option.
of like college, and tomorrow's a test, and you gotta be up 20 hours.
Yeah, if that's an option, maybe we just offer that they can come in on a weekend and sit at their computer and have a headset on and pound out a few hours.
Well, it's awful tough to get things done when the phone rings and somebody comes and you can't hardly remember where you were at, and then the computer goes blank.
Yeah. Pass that on you.
And then, I
remember
mean,
them days.
do we also need to adjust the answering the phones, and maybe have the option for people to leave a message and a designated time to return
The
those?
problem we run into is the motor vehicle line, the option for motor vehicle goes to Melinda's voicemail if she can't answer it. She's 99% of the time she cannot answer. But they always have the option to pound down 0, then it comes to the city side, which I don't think we can stop answering our phones. That's where Jen and I are on the phone quite often.
So they've already figured out the maneuvers.
Can,
Well, I think I said it before, we should get a different phone number for the DMV and just disconnect that tree.
Yeah.
Especially if we're taking you and Jennifer off of DMV, which I think is a great idea. Let's do that. Keep the city hall phone number,
We can't. We can't make decisions tonight,
but
but we can direct you guys to get that,
Put it on the agenda.
put it on the agenda.
there aren't that many weekends left, I mean,
No, but I think that,
You've already authorized overtime for the girls.
right. But I mean, the phone line thing, so that you and Jennifer aren't spending all this time on the phone, so people don't have the option to hit zero when they're required to just leave a message. And then, you know, if Melinda needs to take
So 60
amount of
hours?
time every day to return phone calls or whatever that looks like.
50 hours.
And then Jennifer, if you get a DMV call, okay, I'll transfer you over,
We're
and
gonna know both numbers.
forget it.
Yeah, getting rid of the DOE line might not be the best option, because at some point, we hope that some normal will come back, but maybe we need to change Melinda's voicemail. Maybe we don't stop answering the motor vehicle line. If they do call, I think Sean had a great idea. If they do call, we answer at City of Painesville, and if they really are calling for motor vehicle, when we transfer you to that department, it goes right to Melinda's voicemail again. That's like, 12 seconds versus,
If you just get a different phone number, people are gonna know both numbers, they're just gonna call the other one. They don't think they're-
I was afraid of that.
It's not gonna solve it.
Yeah.
Oh, I like that
And
idea.
at some point, we're gonna have a motor vehicle that's back to somewhat normal, where we can have three people that can manage it.
They
It
call
it
the
happens all over. You get transferred 15 times, and then you give up.
And they still, they still call the police department, they still call the liquor store, they'll call Ron. I mean, they're gonna call anybody they can to find somebody. I mean, it's just
But that would be more probably the local people, not so much
yeah.
people from Sauk Center or wherever that. Okay, so we have some direction on that.
So you can top direction on the training for Jennifer.
Skip it.
Postpone it.
No, skip it, skip it. That's my 2 cents. I realize I'm one of 5 here, but
Yeah, I mean, I think realistically, yeah. There's not time for that.
When I first came here, everybody was very specialized. Now that's more to, everybody has to know everything about everything, about everybody, about everybody. And I don't know if we're gaining any ground by doing that. There's good and bad. Absolutely.
I think actually, if there's even any way to, maybe we want to look at rearranging offices and workstations back there so that people don't walk in and see the two of you sitting there and be
Yes,
like,
exactly.
why aren't they helping us?
We've talked about trying to rearrange maybe that office where we right now have files. Is finding a different place to put those files, maybe we could put our QBs in there, so we're outside a little
Yeah.
bit. We're still up by the admin office, easy access, but outside.
And then we can put down the motor vehicle people, so they'd be closer up to the counters, less back and forth.
Yeah, seems like that's,
And if you guys are good with that, we can start kind of looking that direction too.
I think so. Okay, did we want to talk at all about the long-term options tonight? Or do we want to address that a little bit later?
I think we should do that to the new city admin and we'll roll with that. That should be a decision that's.
Yeah, let's just go with our option 1 for now.
Okay.
And I would assume we would have to bring that to council to approve pay for Randy and
Yeah.
And we can put that on this, I think we can put together an action sheet that just kind of covers backfilling that position and kind of addresses all the things we just talked about.
and I'll reach out to him as well.
For Monday's meeting.
Okay. Sounds like a plan to me.
If for some reason Randy's wife says no, it's gonna fall back on Linda and I, and we'll figure out how we're gonna get it done.
Okay.
And Bill, is there any problem in having him come back temporarily to do that without hiring, without putting out advertising and?
Yeah, I mean, we talked about this over the phone. I don't know if the union contracts require you to advertise internally for, even for temporary positions like this. I think you might get around it on a temporary position, I believe. But I don't have those union contracts well in mind, but it seems like that only applies to permanent hires. I have some flexibility, but, and you said you probably have to do some kind of a little agreement with the union anyway because of the,
An MOU for the liquor, I would imagine, the liquor store employees, that's what we
but
have.
I think you just want to talk with the union people before you finalize it, but I don't think it's going to create a problem. And then I've never seen this agreement when he left his employment here, I'm not familiar with it. I don't know if there's something that the council needs to wait or something that was contained in that agreement or not.
Under future employment, employee will not apply for employment or reemployment with the city at any time after he signs the separation agreement.
I just think at the time that the council takes action on that, it'd be appropriate to waive any clauses that prevent him from becoming an employee in any agreement that they have been in, because he probably maybe is sensitive to the terms of that agreement. And
He is a little
we don't want to publicize that more than necessary, but I think it would just be appropriate to waive the prohibition against him becoming a city employee.
How many hours were you thinking for it?
I guess I'm not real sure. When I talked to Stephanie, I asked her on a normal pay period, and she's trained in it. How long does it take her to do payables? She thought probably if she were to, start and end, it would take about 3 days, and that's being trained in the position.
Like 3 8-hour days
Yes,
in a pay period?
yes.
Okay.
In a 2-week pay period. She thought that that's
So you
potentially how long
definitely
it
be
takes.
under the 32 hours.
I was thinking in the vicinity, I don't know if I could talk Randy into doing more than 20 hours in a pay period.
I guess we were thinking 20 hours.
Well,
He's
whatever you,
retired and
oh,
enjoying
yeah,
it.
Yeah, yep.
whatever help he can be.
All right. So our last item on here is our 2021 budget. Just being that it's 7:17 and we try to keep these to an hour, I'm just curious if people want to get into this right now or if we would be better off setting another working session in the next few weeks just to talk about the budget.
I like that idea.
Guys, how do you feel about that?
Go for 13 minutes and just get some preliminary thoughts for everyone to stew over. Go until 7:30.
7:30, yeah, we can do that.
See, Jennifer just handed me the language from one of the union position vacancies and increases in hours shall be posted on the employee bulletin board in each department for 7 calendar days. Shall be the policy for considered filling by promotion of qualified non-seasonal full-time or part-time employees. I don't know if there's anybody who would be qualified to fill that position, but that's what the union contract probably says. I think this comes from the police, but
Actually, this one is from the general unit, so they would cover, liquor over the city hall.
That's full-time or part-time too?
it says any new hours, it shall be the policy of the city first and city vacancies and service by promotion of qualified positions, vacancies, and increased hours shall be posted.
Yeah, we got by with the MOU on the increased hours from the liquor store.
Because they were employees.
So we're employees. So we did not
He's
have-
not an employee, he would be somebody new, so I don't know. They might tell you you need to post it for 7 days. I don't know that you have anybody that's qualified to do that job, that would want to step into additional 24 hours every 2 weeks. Or I don't know how you would post it exactly, but that's kind of what Stephanie's telling you, is it would be 24 to maybe 32 hours every 2 weeks, depending on proficiency. So it's not a huge number of hours, but it seems like the contract probably requires you to post the type of thing.
And I could very well post it tomorrow or even yet tonight, try to get those 7 days in. Calendar days, doesn't have to be business days.
I wasn't really trying to get this at 30
get that first before we post it.
I think we would want to, because if he can't do it, there's no reason to run anybody's feathers.
Right. So maybe you want to give him a call tomorrow and,
Yeah, I've got to go on here, call first thing in the morning.
okay, and then post it starting tomorrow, and then the council can take action on Monday of next week.
Would this be a day shift thing? Because I have staff over there works for the county office. But she wouldn't be available all the time, so.
Well, it's hard for me to find her.
So I just, the verbiage is what I was just asking about.
So by rights, that accounting person probably would be capable of doing the position, except I think we would want that person here during day hours, because that person has to also communicate with the department heads, vendors, emails.
Not that this person might, it's just, they already work at that kind of an office, so there is somebody that's qualified, it's just.
Yeah, the person very well is qualified. I don't know if they're very willing to give up that for.
Yeah. So, I can't lose two.
I would maybe just check with the union too. I mean, we've had,
Yep, I've got a note here to call.
with the PD, we've had the same issue. When we brought Bruce and Steve and those guys back, and because they were emergency, temporary people, those positions were able to be just appointed by the mayor and the city council.
And they may, because of the circumstances of it being sort of a temporary fix, they might be willing to go along with that, but it's just the language I think you want their consent.
Okay, are we good on that then?
I think so.
All right. Does anybody want to share some quick thoughts on our budget? We got 8 minutes on the budget. I'm just looking at these, like at the 16%.
I'm looking at the shortages.
Right, I'm looking at the
Are there
amounts
any
taken
shortages?
from reserves. The amounts taken that we would need to take out from reserves.
You're going to be, go ahead.
Oh, you're the next page? No, you're not. Page 14?
Are you looking at the revenue shortages
Yeah.
on page 13?
No, is it motor vehicle is down 50%?
Nope, that means that motor vehicle has collected 52% of what they budgeted, and we are 2/3 of the way through the year, so 66% would be an average. We budgeted 133,000, we're at 69,000 as of August 31st.
So we're 14%. Right?
Yes, we made headway from those 2 months being closed, but we're not there yet. Driver's license is the one that is there. Right? There you go.
How long were we closed?
2 months, 8 weeks.
So, we don't have a similar list of expense differences, of what we would have.
I just tried to grab the revenues out of the general fund that appeared to be low for this time of the year. Just to give you an idea.
I have some inkling that court's going to start running arraignments in November, so I don't imagine we'll catch up.
The number I heard was, and I don't know how they measure a judicial year, but 27 judicial years behind schedule. Again, I don't know how you get judicial year, how that equates to a calendar year, but I think it was if they could hire 27 new judges today, it would take them a full year to get caught up.
Do they work 5 days a week?
Well, they had proposed getting us to work on weekends, and that got a pretty big backlash, so.
Yeah.
If you can find the people.
Right, and budget to pay them.
Not going to find the people you're going to try.
Oh, yeah, that's a problem, yeah.
What would, looking at page 12, transfers, capital improvement. You got the fire department ones being, those are with other entities. I don't think we can touch them.
So the question I had about those though is, if we're only contributing a portion of that, why are we budgeting that full amount?
Because it's revenue at an expense.
Okay, so we do have the revenue offset.
They pay us and we.
They pay us.
Right. What if, and I would say the building inspector, that's earmarked.
Yep, that covers the annual payment of the truck.
If you took 10%, you'd have almost 30,000. 5% is 15. I hate to have to do it every year, but a 1-year thing. We cut everybody 5% and got knocked 15 off our 80, you know.
Well, and my thought in looking through it is we might be able to cut EDAP all the way down to zero. That's a $387,000 balance, and they haven't touched that money in 2 years. Because that is not the loan money, that's just the blanking on the term of it now, but discretionary.
I questioned that one too before we were going to the budget, what that money was going in there for.
My understanding,
It's just the
Tom,
expenses.
yeah, the salary.
It was the salaries for the EDAP director,
Well, part of it.
part of it, yeah.
Yeah, it's legal, it's payroll, it's office supplies, it's,
But if so if we didn't do that transfer, then that 36,873 would come out of the CIP balance, is that what you're saying? So that CIP balance would be reduced by that much?
no, this is the balance as of September 30th, just to give you an idea of where that savings account is at right now. The EDAP transfer, 36,873, would be the transfer we would make from the general fund into this EDAP balance in 2021.
Right.
Which would add to that balance. If we cut it and take it away, it's just simply your expenses would be coming out of
Right.
what's it.
Yeah, so your expenses would come out of that. Okay.
Yeah.
Which EDAC expenses actually should be very, very minimal.
Yeah. I think the biggest one is the salary portion.
Which we don't necessarily. No.
They pay like 10%, right?
What's that?
The admin is EDAP, there's a certain percentage that the city administrator gets paid out of EDAP.
Yep. Yep. And others.
That's right.
2021 proposed budget for EDAP is $52,373.
Linda, what page is that on? Oh, you just put it away, never mind.
63.
Okay, thanks.
See, it would be bad if you took out everything except that was cost.
Well, I think you could just,
So it'd be a zero balance, you know, but you wouldn't take away. You did the zero if the cost of EDAP was $30,000 a year to have it, then it was set at 52, then we'd take 22 out. Make sense?
I think that is the first time that sense.
Okay, there's a cost for EDAP. That's the city administrator and so forth, right?
52,373 is what we budgeted.
Okay, there's a cost of EDAP. Is that the cost?
That's what's budgeted, the expenses.
That's the budgeted expenditures.
So that's the cost, EDAP, maybe you're 52,000, we're gonna give them 36, or we're going back 22,000.
The 22,000 is covered by sale of fixed assets, which is the head of lots, and interest. That's the only other two revenues we have going toward that. That equals 52,373, those three items. Interest, sale of lots, and transfer.
What are the expenses that come out of EDA, the budgeted expenses?
Salaries and all of the withholdings that go with salaries. Health insurance, engineering, legal, audit, general, professional services, which is recording fees of the county, postage, printing and publishing, advertising, maintenance and repair of equipment, contractual services, subscriptions and memberships, new equipment, and that is it.
What's the total?
Oh, and then you've got, engineering and contractual services for this downtown rehab portion of it,
So what is the total budgeted expenses?
52,373.
Okay.
And the budgeted revenue is 52,373.
All right, it's nice how that works out.
Belinda, is the 2020 professional services general number accurate? The year to date?
I don't know what that encompasses on top.
No, it's fine. It just suddenly stuck out to me.
Yeah, I see the 2019 is 8,800, so it was high in 19 too. I don't know what that covers.
Oh, could that be the downtown revitalization?
Jen, I think that, yeah.
Okay, well, we are at 7:31. So I think that is something for us to think about and talk about at our next working session, is that EDAP, the transfer, and do we want to set a date for the next?
January. Just thought I'd throw it out there.
So, some open days that you might want to look at, just because we want to be with each other so much, would be the 13th of October, after we meet on the 12th of October.
Yeah, we're at
The 5th.
The 22nd of October, just because we're going to be together most of that week.
yeah, that'd be like really fun.
Just because we like each other again, we could do it the 27th at 6. Public safety is at 5. If they hold a meeting, they can meet for an hour, and we can meet at 6. We potentially could meet on the 28th if the candidate council forum sticks to their 21st date. We can meet on the 29th.
Is the 15th not an option?
That is the fire budget meeting at 6. You also have the opportunity of meeting, if you really want to spend a lot of time with each other, would be the evening of the 20th after you pick your finalist.
No, let's do like the 22nd or the 29th. We're not having sleepovers and crap. Just saying.
I would prefer the 27th or the 29th.
Okay, so we potentially could do a 6 o'clock on the 27th after public safety, or we could do a 5 or a 6 on the 29th.
I'm good with either.
You could probably do earlier on the 27th. I don't know that we have anything for public safety. People wanted to meet earlier.
6 would be good for me on the 27th.
Okay,
What date?
The 27th.
Tuesday the 27th at 6 p.m. And I'm assuming agenda items is going to be the 2021 budget. Is there anything else that we didn't?
No.
No, I don't think there's time for anything else.
I will just add on the 27th, I'm scheduled to be in a jury trial, so I should probably be able to make it, but if we go into deliberations, I'm gonna have to stick around until they're done. So,
Would you rather do like 29th?
Really,
I'm in trial that whole week, so I don't know.
Just change it to 9 o'clock?
I mean, if you wanna prefer 9 o'clock, then
I don't, I'll turn into a
Like now, this.
We can zoom you.
I'd be fine with that.
I
I can call in or whatever, so.
If you're okay with that.
Yeah, that's fine.
All right, so then we will.
Right.
7th at 6, yep.
If anything, I'll just email Belinda or someone all of my thoughts and.
All you gonna get people there?
Yes, sure. We need it so it's fast.